Pleasant good evening to each and everyone in Georgetown, Guyana, the diaspora, and elsewhere. Fellow citizens of Guyana, it is a very crucial time for our country. If you are a Guyanese and you are not emancipated and you did not arrive, even though we know the history of past with the slaves and the cheap laborers. But none of you happens to be that, but the offspring of it. So therefore, I want to tell you all here today, I would like you to subscribe to my channel. Press the bell so you will get the next update. We as Guyanese must not be afraid of Venezuela. We have bigger things to be afraid of, our political bandits. Those who lie to you and cannot deliver but take care of friends and family, and criminals who are killing for them, and corrupt judges and police in uniform while we are suffering because of them. Before I introduce a commentary to you for you stupid Indian and blacks in Guyana to realize that you all have no value with these 65 members of parliament. They might have a few good ones, but how good are you if you cannot condemn the rest and speak out? When you are eating and drinking in the parliament and looking at people and you're there riding out and ringing siren, y'all look for that. I blame y'all, not the politician. For Burnham to Chetty, for Mrs. Jagan who throw the court paper through the door and tear it up. She showed no respect for the laws of the land. What have she know that you all did not know? You uneducated fools that caused this to happen. Why are y'all worrying about Venezuela 160%? I am a patriot. I will die fighting for Guyana while Barrett and family will run away to Queens, another country who might give him political asylum due to all the allegations what is coming up and what passed. Why will Ali fight for Guyana when he will grab his wife and his two children and his family and escape out of the country? Why will Norton do it? Joseph Herman and 90% of them who call themselves patriot. Friends, it is your father, brothers, and nephews and uncle who is going to be in the battlefield to face the Venezuelans. And when I said the Venezuelans, I want to make it clear, the citizens of Venezuela have nothing to do with you. Even though you have a lot of criminal-minded people between them are killing Guyanese, cutting out their head, cut them to pieces. And I think the GDF army and the police force should be vigilant around the border. And anybody you see in the jungle who belong to Guyana, round them up and bring them into Georgetown. Bring them there. Question them if anyone have hands in the killing of innocent people, cutting them to pieces and showing their head. Today, it might be a crucial day, but then it could be a blessing in disguise. And I want Mr. Nicolas Maduro to understand, the son and grandchildren of Spanish, and whether you call it Spain or not, Mr. Maduro, due respect to you and your ignorance that you are calling on innocent people to fight for country that don't even belong to you nor them. And like many more, you are going to create problem for this hemisphere. I predict something, but I don't want to say. You might end up like Saddam or Gaddafi, a very good man, and Hugo Chavez, a great man. But you might end up to be worse. You can only drive your opponent out of Venezuela, who going against you because you're suddenly a dictator from a bus driver to a politician, who become a president by the click of fingers or handshake, and you are ill-treating the Venezuelan, and they're illiterate not to see what you're doing to them. And it is alleged that you're a Colombian, and you got problem also with Colombian over border, and suddenly we don't hear about it. Venezuela was also claiming the Bocas of Trinidad. Maybe later you might claim Grenada. Who knows? I urge the Commonwealth to stand firm, to defend what is right. And if Mr. Maduro, you want to claim Guyana, I have the indigenous blood in me. We will claim Caracas. We will claim Venezuela, because your ancestor came out of Spain. Like the stupid Indian in Guyana and the blacks who claiming emancipation and day of arrival. The only thing I admire you Venezuelan for, you do not talk about Spain, you do not talk about Africa, and where other you all located from to arrive in Venezuela, only Guyana. This is not the first time that Guyana was threatened of division. When the Black Party ruled Guyana, it was Black power leader all the way through believed that they were God, they were the untouchable. 90-something% civil servant was black. We were already taken up by foreigners who refused to admit that they were born in Guyana because they emancipated. But I know they were constipated. All right? And the Indian who get a break, they believe this is Calcutta, India. They arrive. Everything is Indian. Friends, the two of you don't love Guyana. Those who love Guyana die for it like the late Walter Rodney, Guyanese, and all these men who are killed. And I will say one thing, and I have to congratulate David Granger for set free when he was president, as they say, left a lot of young black boys in jail. So in his presidency, he set a lot of black people free from prison. Ali should be ashamed to call upon the Indian race to defend Guyana when he's a president like Bharat and can release the people in the jail. Who is pointing their finger, Ali? You call yourself a Muslim, but you are nothing but an opportunist. George Correa said that. I have a lot of respect for you, but I know that you are misled by a man who have the voice barking more than you when you are the president. Now you are young, and I understand that. If you're a man of God and believe in the teaching of Prophet Muhammad, peace be unto him, open up the jail and set the prisoner free. If not, the nation must come together and unite for a national front government. We cannot trust the PNC and we can't trust the PPP. Forget the AFC after fooling the country and fooling the coolie, because they are all PPP members and a few might be PNC. There are more thieves in parliament than there are in the prison. And the young woman that you all released from prison, whether it was a mistake or not, she should be free, because that's double jeopardy. And you all are asking for people to come together to fight for our country that don't belong to both of you. Apartheid system. When the black rule is controlled by y'all, even the Amerindian can't get a break. Maybe what Mr. Nicolas Maduro is doing, it's a will of God by a blessing in disguise to unite the two fools who are claiming Africa and India, who are claiming emancipation and arrival. You all already give up the country. And a couple of years ago in Church Street, Brooklyn, a few Guyanese blacks was asking to divide Mackenzie from Guyana under the Ramata government. They couldn't do it under Burnham. They could not. With all the man might be a bad man in everything, nationalize everything, claiming everything, and God, black people believe that he was a gift when he was a hypocrite. You see, Guyana, Sidney King know the truth. And many other decent black, Llewellyn John, they know the truth. Why we have to join PPP or PNC? But we have Islam, Hinduism, Catholic, Christianity, Jehovah's Witness. What's going on? You're better than God? Tell me. Many people call me today and last night, Correa, stop talking about Guyana. Support Maduro, friends. I am not supporting nobody to take a country don't belong to none of us. I was born in British Guyana. I live in the Republic of Guyana. Even though they call it cooperative, it is not cooperative. All right? So therefore, I want you all to know, I am with Guyanese to defend the country. I don't want to hear the song from the trade wind or whoever, not a blade of grass, not a chorus. That's bullshit. I don't want music. We want Mr. Nicolas Maduro to know we shall not, will not, would not tolerate nobody to take what belongs to us. If he have a problem, let he take England and Spain to court to know why they take away the country and do it like that. Because he himself is a son of a pirate. like the Indians who are cheap labor and the blacks who are slaves. So what is he talking about? If that's what you get and that was agreed in the 18th century, then it should stand, because the two superpowers are the two people who invade the Amerindian country, the indigenous people country, kill some of them, enslave them, rape their women, make that land, divide it, Spain keep that, and the British keep this, and then the French keep the other piece, and the Dutch and the Portuguese got Brazil, and the Spanish had Cuba. That is the problem now in Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic, between the Haitians and the Dominicans. Children of slaves and cheap laborers or whatever are fighting for a river in the Dominica. Come on, my friends. I will play a video that I want you all to decide after, and I will tell you my verdict. But let it be known, I swear to God, I shall die fighting for Guyana. No one shall invade us. All right? Let the cameraman play.
So you're
that video,
ExxonMobil in 2007,
and I want you to
ran
analyze
into
it, and
a
then
big
I'll
problem.
continue.
Your biggest moneymaker was getting oil from Venezuela. For years, you had enjoyed unlimited access to the world's largest known oil reserves. But now Venezuela just kicked you out. That's right, Venezuela's president had just nationalized all its private oil fields, which meant that foreign oil companies like ExxonMobil were banned. You had just lost your biggest moneymaker, and you had to find an alternative fast. Luckily, another country caught your eye, Venezuela's neighbor, a country called Guyana. Guyana is a very poor country in South America that is ripe for oil exploration. After all, it is next door neighbors with the biggest oil reserves in the world, so there's gotta be oil in Guyana, right? The problem is, even though many have tried, no one has ever been able to find oil in Guyana. But you knew you had to at least give it one more shot. And it would take you 8 terrible years after Venezuela kicked you out until you finally did the impossible. You discovered oil in Guyana.
And in the last decade, some 11 billion barrels of oil has been found, which is the most significant discovery of its kind in recent years.
Guyana's newest oil discovery by ExxonMobil at Catteback within the Stabroek Block has increased the discovered recoverable resource to approximately 10 billion oil equivalent barrels.
Ding ding ding, it was a miracle, and it turned out to be one of the biggest oil discoveries ever. You had hit the jackpot, and suddenly you were back in business. But just because you discovered oil in Guyana doesn't mean it's yours. No, it still technically belongs to the Guyanese people, which means you have to somehow convince this sovereign nation to give up the one thing that will lift them out of poverty. But how on earth do you do that? Well, the great news is that as a poor country, the people are easily fooled. The politicians are very affordable to bribe. At the time, Guyana's GDP was a measly $4 billion. While ExxonMobil, you made $4 billion every 6 days. And with that kind of money, you can do anything. All you gotta do is use some of that cash to fool the Guyanese people into welcoming you with open arms. And once you get your foot in the door, you can start systematically taking over every aspect of Guyanese society. You'll be able to silently take over their governments, to take over their free press, their legal system. And ever since the discovery of oil in Guyana, that's exactly what ExxonMobil has been doing. Today, ExxonMobil has completely and utterly colonized Guyana without a single shot ever being fired, and no one has been the wiser. One journalist wrote it best: in Guyana, it's become hard to distinguish where the oil company ends and where the government begins. This is a story about how one transnational corporation managed to take over an entire nation state in the span of just a few years. Stay dangerous and let's get into it. As you're gonna see in this video, there is a reason why Exxon is a very successful company on the stock markets. They are willing to do anything to make their shareholders happy. And you can bet that they're pouring all that extra money they're making into the best Wall Street analysts to help them make even more money with their money. Wall Street analysts that have been traditionally reserved only for the ultra wealthy. But one company is trying to change that. Seeking Alpha, today's sponsor. Seeking Alpha's goal is to give you the same edge you would have if you had your own Wall Street analyst by your side. And they've already got over 250,000 plus members taking advantage of this. For the past 19 years, Seeking Alpha has been the go-to place for independent and balanced stock research, fundamental analysis tools, crowdsourced debate, reliable news, and actionable market data. Their stock coverage gives you both the bull and bear case for each stock, so that you can weigh in and make an informed decision. Their news lets you understand why the market and the stocks in your portfolio are moving or why they're about to move. Their data allows you to have professional caliber tools right at your fingertips. And with their premium subscription, you can get unlimited access to all of this. And the best part is that you can try Seeking Alpha Premium for free for 14 days by clicking the link below. Click the link below to get a 14-day trial of Seeking Alpha Premium now. I am not a registered financial advisor, and thanks to Seeking Alpha for being the paid sponsor of this video. Here's what you have to understand about taking over a country, whether it be by force or more economic means. It's that if the people hate you, eventually they're gonna revolt. Just like what happened to you in Venezuela. We want to prevent that from repeating itself here. So the first step in colonizing a poor country like Guyana is to win the hearts and minds of the public. It's very simple. If the public loves their occupiers, they won't revolt. So from the moment that you announced your oil discovery, you told everyone that this oil was gonna make them rich, that oil mining was gonna create all these new jobs, that all the money would trickle down, and that it was gonna put Guyana's economy on the map, that it would earn Guyana $150 billion over the next 30 years. But you made sure to tell the public an important caveat. Let's face it, you poor people don't have the knowledge and equipment to dig all this oil out of the ground and refine it, so why don't you let us as ExxonMobil mine the oil for you, and we'll all share in the riches. And being that you told this to a population where 40% of the people live on less than $6 a day, what do you think they said to your little proposition? They said yes, obviously. This is everything they ever dreamed of. Quote, people were going crazy talking about oil wealth, end quotes. And it wasn't just the people. Quote, Exxon was pushing this idea and so was the government, end quotes. The oil gods have finally smiled down on Guyana and sent ExxonMobil to change everything for the better. It was the perfect narrative. And to further your influence, your first big investment in the country was to sponsor Guyana's national cricket team. In Guyana, cricket is the equivalent of football in the US, so this was a big deal. It made it look like you cared. You even paid for cricket matches to be shown on TV and made sure that every Guyanese player was wearing the ExxonMobil logo on their shirt for everyone to see. Sponsoring cricket in Guyana was like if ExxonMobil created the Super Bowl in America. Sure, it would cost you a few $1 million, but the payoff in public opinion was priceless. And your plan worked perfectly. Quote, when you walked in the streets, you could hear every Guyanese saying, "Thank God for Exxon," end quotes. Now that's some effective PR. You as an oil giant were a hero in the eyes of the public. Their knight in shining armor that had come to save them out of poverty. Now all you needed was for the government to love you as well. Just like many poor countries, Guyana is very corrupt. In fact, it's one of the most corrupt countries in the entire region. And you know what that means, right? That means Guyana is very affordable to bribe. So you got to work turning the Guyanese government into your well-paid puppets. You wined, you dined, you schmoozed your way into the highest circles of the Guyanese governments. And before you knew it, your oil executives were watching cricket games with the Guyanese presidents, while the Guyanese vice president regularly held press conferences talking up ExxonMobil and defending it against the country's regulators. It was the perfect setup. With the right contacts and just a little bit of money, buying favors from the government became as easy as buying vegetables from a supermarket. And thanks to your little deal with the Guyanese government, no outside supervisors were allowed on board Exxon's oil rigs and production vessels. Even your mining permits and documents were locked away from the people who were supposed to regulate your mining in the first place. You didn't just have the support of the government to mine oil, you also had its support to do about just whatever you wanted. In America, although you can buy politicians, there is no way you're going to be able to buy off the entire government. Heck, I don't even think BlackRock has been able to buy off the entire US government. But in a small, poor country like Guyana, Exxon was probably able to do this with just a couple $100 million. And you didn't waste a second taking full advantage of it. The media controls our reality. Think about it. The public only cares about issues when the mainstream media is blasting it in their faces 24/7.
Coronavirus. COVID-19.
And the same is doubly true for a small, uneducated country like Guyana. If pesky, independent journalists start blasting your name in the bad lights, the public will turn on you. Which meant that Guyana's free press was next on the chopping block. You needed to get rid of all those goody two-shoe journalists before they start exposing you. The public can't get mad over what they don't know, so you turn to your pals in the government again. This time you would give them money, and in exchange, they would go to all the independent Guyanese journalists working on oil and environmental stories and hire them to work for state-run news instead. They would offer these journalists a car, a raise, a fancy title, just for joining the government's official newsroom. And it worked. In a country where the average annual salary was just $6,500 a year in 2019, no one could resist the offer. One by one, journalists were bought off. And since they now all worked for the government, you had the last say on every story they published. The results? No more negative stories about you or oil in the news. Without anyone to report on your shady deals, the public had no way of knowing what you were really up to. So now you don't need all of Guyana to love you anymore. You just need to keep them in the dark. But even with the media in your pocket, there's still gonna be some stragglers that learn about your dark deeds. What if they try to sue you or use the legal system against you? Well then, I guess we're just gonna have to take over the legal system next. The only way for regular people to take on a company of your size would be for them to hire really good lawyers. So what do? You take your billions of dollars in oil money and start paying off as many law firms in the country as possible. Put every single lawyer out there on a retainer. That way, no matter which law firm people go to, they'll always get the same answer. Sorry, we can't represent you because we have a conflict of interest. No lawyers, no case. No case, no fines or regulation. Simple, right? And guess what? Lawyers in Guyana make a typical salary of just $17,000 US a year, which means all you need is a few $1,000s to throw at each of them and boom, the legal system is yours. And if people go to the environmental agencies that are supposed to be completely independent and objective, well boy did you have a surprise for them, because guess what? You're funding them too. All you had to do was throw money at the poor underfunded environmental agencies. That way everyone thought you were the good guy trying to protect the environment, while also stopping them from going after you in the process. No one's gonna bite the hand that feeds it. As ExxonMobil, your drilling operation in Guyana is one of the most dangerous in the industry, like Deepwater Horizon level dangerous. The Deepwater Horizon explosion spilled oil and gas throughout the entire Gulf of Mexico, and it cost BP $69 billion to clean it up. For comparison, Guyana's current GDP is just $8 billion. So if a spill happened, even if Guyana used all of its GDP, which is impossible by the way, it would take them more than 8 years to clean up that kind of spill. But luckily, if a spill did happen, they wouldn't have to do that, right? See, in most cases, oil companies running this sort of mining operation not only have insurance in case of an accident, but they also have to guarantee that they're going to pay for all the cleanup costs if it exceeds their insurance. And it makes sense. You're planning on making hundreds of billions of dollars off of this country's oil, so the least you can do is pay if something goes wrong, right? Well, not in the case of ExxonMobil in Guyana. See, once you had infiltrated the Guyanese government and got them to hand over all the mining rights to you, you thought that, well, if we could get them to do this, why not take it a step further? Why not make so we don't have to make any guarantees that we'll clean up after any accidents that happen? That's right, if any sort of oil accidents happen, ExxonMobil is legally off the hook. Now to be clear, you still gave them your word that you would clean up any mess you made, but there's nothing in the fine print saying that you have to. So now if a spill did happen, it would be the Guyanese taxpayers who are on the hook to pay for it. And obviously this did not sit well with a lot of people. With this move, you have finally revealed your true colors. That you didn't really care about the people or the country, it showed that you were just in it for the money all along. And so suddenly public opinion about ExxonMobil started to change, and the people took you and the Guyanese government to court, accusing you of working with the government to break the rules. But luckily, the Guyanese government refused to stop supporting you. This was the first time in history that an oil company and a government environmental agency was on the same side of a lawsuit. And even when Guyana's high court ruled against you, the government just wouldn't accept it. Instead, they lodged an appeal on your behalf. Yes, the government was fighting for ExxonMobil. And with that kind of power, now all you had to do was sit back and let the money flow in. Congratulations, with the government, lawyers, and even the environmental agencies on your side, you had finally completed your takeover. Now you can sit back and make your billions while making sure that none of it actually goes back to the Guyanese people. But look, you say, Guyana's GDP has been going to the moon since we started mining, you say. The Guyanese people should be thankful for you. But how much of that money has actually gone back into the country? Turns out not so much. Guyana's government was so desperate to keep you and your money in the country, the deal they signed allows you to deduct up to 75% of your revenue as expenses, before the rest is split between you and the government. It doesn't matter if your profit margin really is 25% or not. That was the deal the government signed. And even if they wanted to find out what your real profit margin was, they don't have the money or manpower to audit you. So you can just keep raking in billions while Guyana stays as poor and underdeveloped as ever. And sure, more and more people are starting to realize how you con them out of their oil, but with more and more oil being discovered every year, and more oil wells being dug by ExxonMobil, given how deeply rooted ExxonMobil is with the government and the economy, it may just be too late.
Yes, friends, I do hope you have listened to that video carefully. That is not a Guyanese, so they could say propaganda, and it's not PNC or AFC member, said it back in, they putting the government down, and it's not nobody but a foreigners. Now you mean to tell me, if these foreigners can see so far and they are not living in Guyana, how they are getting this information and they are so accurate? You could bribe all the politicians. You could bribe 99% of the judges and magistrates in the court and the police. Who can we trust? Many people called me last night and today, Karaya, and I wouldn't use the word, and these are Indian and blacks alike. Why are you killing yourself over these thieves? Let the Venezuela take the country, we're going to be better off. I had to beg them and said, no. You do know that? If Mr. Maduro could do something like that, he will start to invade the Caribbean and other countries. The whole world get rid of Adolf Hitler and many other dictators. We will not tolerate one in Latin and South America and the Caribbean. But I have a message to Mr. Maduro. Does he really study the Caribbean, really? And understand that every Caribbean island, most of them happens to have great-grandchildren of slaves who get the islands from the British. And I will name it for him. Only Cuba is run by Hispanic. And Dominican Republic, half of it is Dominican Republic and half is Haiti. We are black people again. You got to understand what you're doing, Mr. Maduro. If you continue like this, you will have problem for your ships to pass through the Caribbean Sea, because you will be violating the people's water. And remember, they all speak English, and most of them were ruled by Britain. And we hold hands together. It's only Guyana got the problem, and a little problem in Trinidad, but more in Guyana between black and East Indian descendants. Emancipation and day of arrival. And the politicians, you cannot trust them. But all crime that was committed against the innocent Guyanese, whether you're black, brown, yellow, or purple, all I want you all to do, remember who was the magistrate and the judge that jailed your family. Remember who was the surveyor that surveyed your land. Remember which court ruled in favor of your enemy who fight you for their land. I promise you in the name of God, Bhagwan or Allah, you shall get it once you are right. Woe be unto those who do it. So why are we fighting? Look at this. We are fighting Venezuela, and we have a right for trying to claim 60% of Guyana. But in Guyana, we are getting locked up of your own land, and when we talk, police take bribe, magistrate take bribe, and deny we were right. Ladies and gentlemen, y'all ever hear this saying? The enemy of my enemy is my friend. And the friend of my enemy is my enemy. It's only an ass will fight against somebody who is justified to them to support one who is turning their back and hurting them. But we are not like that. We were born in British Guyana, and we must defend it by all costs. We would stand with Mr. Ali government to see if we could come to an agreement with Venezuela, but we are not here to give concession. We must open up the door to the Venezuelan people. And yes, the opposition stated, many of them, that a lot of Venezuelans is coming over to Guyana, and many of them from young were trained in the army, whatever, and claim that Essecuba is their own, they might be military. We do not have to worry about that because we have black people ready to burn the whole country down. Those Spanish in Venezuela don't know who they're playing with. We got the destructive element. And I will tell you the truth, is those who are emancipated. I all love to burn and kill. But I don't want it to happen because they got black people too and they call themselves Venezuelan. But we don't need to go that way. All right? So Mr. Nicolas Maduro, I call upon the Venezuelan people to get rid of him as quick as possible or he will put his country in the biggest problem that he will be blockaded from the air to the sea. Now, for the Russian leaders of China, I ask you all to keep out of this hemisphere. Keep out of it. We don't care what America wants to do with Ukraine and NATO. We are living peacefully in this area. And we urge Russia to keep out our business. All right? And the Chinese to keep out. Okay? But I urge the government of Guyana, open up the door to the less fortunate from Venezuela and elsewhere to develop Guyana and populate it and make your law. I also urge them in government, give the American the opportunity to come in and give them place on the same disputed area so they could put the submarine base, put the base and the train in place since they moved from Puerto Rico many years ago. I said it on CN Sharma program one time when I called in and they hung up on me. Sometimes I ask why Indian people don't like when I speak the truth. I know if this war begins, you're going to run away. Only the black, the Amerindian, and the mixed race won't stand up to fight. And some of you, but friends, this is not the time for we to be divided. We must unite it to protect Guyana. But what you look at that video a little while ago, that's not lie. Every politician have a price, from Burnham to Jagan, from Barrett, Jack Neal, and Ali, from Mr. Norton to Mr. Joseph Harmon. Right back, everybody have a price. Now, bear in mind, because you all are very effing illiterate, I'm not saying that you all are the one selling, but everybody got a price. A woman got a price, I got a price too. But my price is not to sell the innocent for my glory. I urge you in the name of God Almighty, Allah, Bhagwan, whoever you want to call, to denounce the nonsense that's happening in Guyana and unite. We don't need the PPP anymore after I'm listening to all of this. And what Mr. Burke put out on TikTok, and what a member in the parliament stand up and argue, no concession for Venezuela, and he was get a lot of boo, that we need to change the house. All patriotic Guyanese who are on PPP, APNU, and the PNC to unite for a national front government. But I want to make it clear, an Amerindian man or woman must be the head of the country. Because they didn't came from India, Africa, China, and Portugal. All right? So if you want to be fair, let's make them the leader of the country, and we could petition the world to claim Venezuela since they want to claim Guyana. But use the Amerindian and open up the door to all indigenous people, for they are the owner of these lands. A friend of mine, very good friend, in America told me, what are you talking about the Amerindian in Guyana and what happened to them? What America do with the Indian? I had to look at him very carefully. Because for a man to say something like that, have children and grandchildren, God must forgive him. Because we cannot go to Africa and demand anything. Nor India, nor China, nor Europe. Come on. And I urge my black brothers and sisters out of Africa, stop blaming modern Africans for what had happened in the past. They are not responsible for the selling or the exchanging or swapping of the ancestor to the European that turn and make you a slave. Now, we are all in slavery right now under the PPP, the PNC, and APNU. We are all. But I want all of them to know, whatever crime was committed against innocent man and woman, y'all shall answer it no matter where y'all run. And what Jesus said, Its children shall bear the sin. You know what I mean, right? You know what I mean. I hope y'all is stupid. I hope y'all understand what I mean. We are very forgiving. But we can't declare war and then we win and then you ask forgiveness. Before the war begins, you must accept, repent and accept your effing fault. And let's unite, save the country, and don't make it happen again. What is the meaning of repenting? Repenting means accept your fault and ask forgiveness. Not to go to war, and when you lose, then you want forgiveness. It's too late. If Lucifer had gone on his knees and asked God forgiveness, he would have still been in heaven. We might have been live a longer time. And that's my opinion. Now a foreigner give you the video, which I put out, and I'm going to put out another one. Maybe tomorrow or the other day. You all might surprise to know how much of them got money. Millions. Some guy 18 million US. Some of them are calling him. Some of them famous name. Oh, some got more than that, some got less. But ladies and gentlemen, you Indian and black are the result of this. You are the fault of it. Unite for God's sake. So you will have your house. You will get a profit sharing from the oil, the gold, the lumber. But we must vigilance and work together and stop the backbiting and cut out emancipation and day of arrival. Okay? And therefore, open the door to the Venezuelans then and give them the opportunity. Move them away from the border and bring them on the other side. And unite them for what is right. For we are all God's people living in this world. Differences, languages, and culture. So let's unite and make Guyana a better and prosperous place. But we cannot have PPP and Senatu. Okay? Because we will always have backbiting and fighting. So let's unite as Guyanese and accept the truth. All we want to go to heaven. Are we willing to put out Muhammad, Jesus, Moses, and what we believe in and take over God heaven? We wouldn't even get close. Friends, with this I urge you in the name of God. Let's unite and defend Guyana. Put the past behind, form a national front government, and we can put Guyana forward and be the stepping stone for humanity and help the world. And let the U.S. come and bring all their business into Guyana for their gold, diamond, lumbers, oil. And we can do something and turn Guyana around. All right? Cut out the trip to Dubai and Dubai. You see, since Bharat and Mr. Ali went to Dubai, what happened? They get flood. The clouds are crying when these sinners step on the ground of holiness. You remember the flood under Bharat? You see how many rainfall after Ali? The clouds are crying. You see how many deaths? And now people want to take your country? How y'all feel? But y'all fighting for land. And for you illiterate people who say I drunk, maybe it's the liquor that your mother was to give your father, but she gave it to me. Or I'm old. But even though I'm old, I want you to understand, I have a good vision and understanding. My friends, nothing personal. Let's unite. Save Guyana. And let's help the Venezuelan people to get rid of the dictator, Nicolas Maduro, so we can live in peace, love, and harmony. And open the door to Africa, India, and the Caribbean. I am your host, George Correa. Have a good night. Peace, nothing personal.